We drove over to meet an old friend of mine that I'd sailed with years ago, who captains a Windjammer tall ship out of the picturesque town of Camden, Maine.
Maine windjammer cruising has been a popular tradition here for decades, with the term windjammer now nearly synonymous with Maine. These types of boats are traditionally rigged sailing vessels. Unlike larger cruise ships, windjammers have cozier berths on board with shared bunk rooms and heads. So a trip on this type of boat is a close quarters affair that makes for great camaraderie.
All right, guys, I'm here with Captain Dennis Gallant on board his boat, the Angelique, and this is a windjammer, right?
Yes, yeah, Angelique's a 130-foot overall gaff rig ketch.
What's unique to Maine about the windjammer trade and the culture here?
So the windjammer started here in 1936, and when we started, it was really, they called them dude schooners. You know, you go to a dude ranch to pretend to be a cowboy. You go out on the dude schooner to pretend to be a sailor. We call it kind of glamping at sea. It's glamour camping. Yeah. And it's unique to Maine. We have thousands of islands out there. We're sailing in these protected waters. There are 9 boats in the Maine Windjammer Association that I'm a part of. There's 1 ketch, 1 3-masted schooner, and then 7 2-masted schooners.
Okay.
Yeah. Schooner has the taller mast is in the back, and the ketch, the taller mast is in the front.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And the shorter mast, the mizzen, is in front of the rudder post. If it's behind the rudder post, it's a yawl.
Oh yeah, okay.
Originally, it started out as this derogatory term. You know, when the steam tugs started to come along, and the steamships started to come along, you know, they were looking down on the guys that were still running the sailboats. You know, you windjammer, we'll see you in Boston in a week, and off they'd go. And the reply was, you stupid stink pot.
right.
And we know they still call sailboats, you know, windjammers up here. Windjamming is what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we take people out, we go sailing. Angelique was built in 1980, so she's one of the newer boats in the fleet. And when she started sailing in 1980, she was kind of an outcast. She was the only ketch in the fleet. The rest are all schooners. She was the only steel boat in the fleet, and she was one of only 2 boats with red sails. She's since kind of been really accepted into the group as part of this thing.
Angelique's red sails are period correct, as it was common to treat sails to make the cotton canvas more resilient to mildew with tallow, tannic acid, and red ochre. She is 130 feet long overall with a 95-foot deck and a deep draft hull, with a 23-foot beam and a full keel that assures maximum stability, even in rough water. The wood decks, booms, and interiors give voyagers the old-world charm of yesteryear while enjoying the soulful feel of Maine's quiet coast.
She draws 11.5 feet, and she weighs about 142 metric tons, light. You know, no fuel, no water. We carry 1,800 gallons of water. We can make it a nice experience for our guests, and they don't come away thinking that they've been on this rough and ready kind of trip. We can take 29 guests. 29 guests, and we have a crew of 7. Myself, a first mate, 2 deckhands, a chef, a baker, and a mess cook that does a lot of prep and dishes. Angelique's really unique too, that we have an on-deck saloon. So we have an area on deck where guests can get out of the weather and still be up on deck. We've got a piano in there. It's right next to the galley, so it's nice and warm. The galley always smells good too.
I remember hanging out in there when I think I was with you guys 4 nights or 6?
6 nights, yeah.
6 nights,
6 nights you sailed with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and we kind of gathered in that upper saloon there.
Yeah.
It was a really cool place to hang out. Cap told me they'd just tuned the piano up, and he said I should go tickle the ivories a bit, which I couldn't resist. Brought back memories from our cruising trip years ago. A sailboat with a piano on board makes for one of the most social boating experiences possible. People will gather around, sing along, enjoy food as they watch the sunset over the water. Few moments in life can top enjoying an evening on a tall ship in Maine with musical instruments and some adventurous friends along. Sounds pretty good.
You won't find any place with as many islands as Maine. And we have thousands of islands on the coast of Maine. So we're sailing in these huge open bays that are sheltered from the sea. It's protected anchorages, protected sailing, and not a lot of traffic. You know, it's not unusual to sail all day and only pass a handful of other sailboats.
Yeah.
And half the time they're a windjammer.
And the classic experience of like cruising the islands out here is you anchor off an island and get on the little dinghy gunboat tender and go out to the island, right?
We have a 16-passenger rowboat, and it's a really shallow draft boat, so we can go right into the island, we can beach it, the guests get off over the bow. Most of the time they don't even get their feet wet.
Yep.
And we do go into islands like that and do an all-you-can-eat lobster bake. You probably remember that when you were on board. Yeah, it's a
awesome.
highlight of the trip. We go in and light a big fire and cook about 80 pounds of lobster.
Yeah.
And we do stop at villages too.
Yeah, I remember we did Castine, I think.
Castine's a big one. Stonington's another place we go.
And Stonington's like the lobstering capital.
Stonington's the lobstering capital of the United States of America. They land more pounds of lobster in Stonington than any place else in the country.
Do you eat lobster being from Maine?
I do. I don't eat it every time, but I'll often do the surf and turf. I'll have my lobster and then I'll have my hamburger.
Yeah.
So, surf and turf it.
I remember you had a chef on board named Hoppy the time
Yeah,
I was here, and
yeah.
he showed me how the galley, and based on where you're tacking, you have to open and close different pipes.
Yeah, the food, I always try to hire chefs that are into a little exploration. I want someone that's gonna write a good menu. And we have everything from rabbit to steak to lobster to oysters and clam chowder, and I never know what he's gonna make us. It's kind of fun.
That's awesome. All right, everyone, we're climbing down the ladder to go below deck and check out some of the accommodations. It's bunk style. Everybody has their own private sink in their rooms, and then the shower is a stand-up shower. It's pretty comfortable. A little bit like glamping.
sailangelique.com. If you call the phone number, you're going to get me or you're going to get my wife. We are truly mom and pop, and all 9 boats in the association. Yeah. The owner's going to be on board in every one of these boats. So that's really, really unique, I think.
Well, thanks for having us.
Hey,
man.
It's really a pleasure. It's good to see you again, too.
Yeah, you too.
Excellent.
Cool.
Excellent.